Are you tired of being the worst Wolverine in the lobby? Are your teammates always telling you to switch when all you want to do is play as Wolverine?
Bro, you had 0 kills. I think it's time for you to switch. You might want to start being useful.
Well, no worries, you guys, because I got your back. And in this video, I'm going to be teaching you guys the right way to play as Wolverine in Marvel Rivals. So before we get into the right way to play as Wolverine, we need to understand what makes Wolverine, well, Wolverine. So Wolverine's role is a duelist, or in other words, for a lot of you guys, DPS, and his role, like any other duelist, is one-on-one combat. However, with Wolverine, you're going to be creating your one-on-one opportunities a little bit different as opposed to like a Spider-Man who's able to swing his way to the backline to create his duels. Unlike Spider-Man, Wolverine does not have a lot of mobility. And I know a lot of you guys may have played Overwatch 2 in the past and are going to probably think Wolverine is a dive character because he literally can dive onto his opponents. But trust me, that's not how you want to use him. That's the wrong way to play as Wolverine. Another wrong way of playing as Wolverine is just getting in the face of the tanks and slashing them up because you guys are getting excited seeing your Berserker charge go up all the way. Again, you guys, you don't want to get carried away because that is also the wrong way to play as Wolverine. And Wolverine is a 3-star character. He's not really hard to use, but I did want to get all these wrong ways out of the way before we get into the right way because, well, let's be honest, if you're a Wolverine fan as much as I am, we have to make sure we use him the right way. Starting with his basic attack, Savage Claw. It's what we know him for, using his claws to slash up his enemies. And if you do enough damage and slashing, you'll actually charge up one of his passives, Berserker Rage. Rage builds up when Wolverine attacks or takes hits, boosting the damage of his claw strikes and the bonus health he'll get from his Regenerative Healing Factor passive. Now, I'm not gonna lie, when I hear Regenerative Healing Factor, and I know it's a passive, don't worry, Wolverine fans, I also thought that he was gonna get healing for dealing damage. Unfortunately, that's not how his passive works. The Regenerative Healing Factor states, begin to heal and rise with a hefty bonus health, shaking off all of debuffs, and after a brief moment, any remaining bonus health morphs into a one-off heal, zeroing out his rage. Assists and KOs reduce this cooldown. The Regenerative Healing Factor works as like a second life. Usually when you get knocked out, you get put in a respawn timer. However, with Wolverine, when you get knocked out, you actually get granted bonus health as like a last stand. And that health is dictated by how much rage you had before you got knocked out. And if you get knocked out during that window with your bonus health, then you'll actually get sent to the respawn room. But if you survive during that time with the bonus health, it will get converted into real health, but then zeroing out your rage. But a very important key note to take from this passive, assists and KOs reduce this cooldown. And since assists and KOs reduce the cooldown that you get your Regenerative Healing Factor, you're definitely going to want to make sure you're in the fight as much as possible and contributing to KOs and assists. But to do that effectively, you guys are going to have to use his abilities effectively. And the first ability we're going to look into is Feral Leap. Leap like an animal and snatch the first enemy upon impact and smash them into the ground. Unleash this ability to enhance his normal attack to a Berserker Claw Strike for a brief period. That means if you manage to snatch an enemy, you're going to be dealing more damage and faster claw strikes. This is an excellent ability to take a person that's out of position away from their team so that you and your team can focus them to maybe get a knockout or give yourself an assist, which will then also contribute to the cooldown of your Regenerative Healing Factor. And something to make note of before you set yourself up for Feral Leap is to consider using his second ability, Undying Animal. This is where Wolverine will unleash a feral howl to briefly reduce incoming damage. And he reduces the damage he takes by roughly 50%. And there's a lot of ultimates that Wolverine can survive when he pops this at the right time. And I'm not gonna lie, you guys, as cool as that sounds to be able to take an ultimate, we don't want to be in those situations. We're not gonna be getting the most out of his ability doing it that way. Maybe in some circumstances it's gonna work, but I found that using Undying Animal comboed with moving in to set yourself up for a leap, that's where I got the most value. Or using it to reduce incoming damage so that you can get out of danger to recover and heal for the next engagement. Which then brings us to his last ability, Vicious Rampage. This is where Wolverine will dash forward and unleash a Claw Strike. This Claw Strike also does damage, and how you guys use this Claw Strike might vary. Me personally, I do not like to use it to enter fights all the time. It really does depend unless we're gonna like win the fight, but a lot of the times I'm actually using this as like my mobility to get get out of danger, especially since it doesn't have a long cooldown. The cooldown's only like 3 seconds long. However, if you are going to be dashing into a fight, it's definitely best to combo it with his ultimate Last Stand. This is where Wolverine will launch up enemies ahead and then spiral through the air, sweeping up enemies along the path and delivering a devastating impact at the landing point. The impact will deal extra damage based on your rage accumulated. Now, I found myself making the mistake of trying to set this ultimate up by getting a group of people where honestly, if you're actually trying to win, just take somebody. Don't worry about trying to get the clip. Trust me when I say this, you're gonna do your team a favor by taking somebody out of the fight. And now we're moving on to Wolverine's final ability, which is really a team-up ability, and it's called the Fastball Special, where Wolverine can interact with Hulk, or Hulk can interact with Wolverine, and once confirmed by both sides, Hulk can raise Wolverine and basically throw him at the enemies. Now, what makes this team-up ability really nice for Wolverine is that if you do land on an enemy, it actually procs your Berserker Strike, where you actually can slash a lot faster on your enemies, which can then help charge your Berserker meter. And I'm not gonna lie, you guys, this team-up ability is actually pretty hard to land. It's definitely fun if you do land it, but I found my friends and I having like 0 success in landing it. But as for my enemy teams, they are absolutely 100% accurate and absolutely 100% fearless when it comes to throwing Wolverine at me. Now, I know that was a lot of information I just gave, but let me go ahead and break it down for you so that you guys know how to enter your fights. Step number 1, we have to build our Berserker Rage up. And I found that fighting alongside with my tanks initially definitely helps, because fighting with your tanks is usually where your supports are going to be looking at. So you're going to be getting healing to support yourself while in combat with your tanks, which will then help you stay alive longer while you build up your Berserker Rage. Step number 2, look to take somebody away from their team that overextends. Like I said, my favorite targets are the tanks, because usually I'm fighting with my tanks and those tanks are also fighting each other. But it doesn't mean that you only focus the tanks. Like I said before, once your Berserker Rage meter is charged up, move on to step number 3 and hit the finishing combo. Once you've identified your target you want to take out, preferably a support character or a DPS character, you're going to want to activate Undying Animal, dash in on them using Vicious Rampage, and pop your ultimate Last Stand to completely take them out of the fight and KO them. And if you guys are lucky, you might get another person going along the ride with you. You don't want to overcomplicate the use of Wolverine. There's not much to him, and a lot of people swear by it by doing all this extra stuff. His best value is definitely when you're brawling with your team, which is why, unfortunately, a lot of content creators have Wolverine at the very bottom of their tier list when it comes to ranking all of the heroes in Marvel Rivals. And that's because to get the best value out of Wolverine, you basically need like good communication with your team. Everybody needs to be on the same page. And if you really love playing Wolverine and you're hoping for somebody to pick Hulk, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, don't count on it. I've seen a lot of people use Hulk wrong, and a lot of people, even if they do the team up ability with you, they're probably not going to use you correctly neither. But all of that doesn't matter. I'm not trying to convince you guys to not pick Wolverine. I'm bringing this all to your attention because at the end of the day, Wolverine, you're gonna have to fight with your team regardless of who's in front of you. And that'll only honestly make you a much better player, which has now got me into top 500 in Marvel Rivals. Side note, you should totally follow me on Twitch so you guys can watch me when I go live. And that right there, you guys, is the right way to play Wolverine in Marvel Rivals. And if you guys found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe and comment down below which Marvel Rivals character you guys would want me to teach you next to play the right way.